For 25 years, Brightview Senior Living has been dedicated to creating an award-winning company culture so residents and families receive best-in-class services. Across our 50 communities, Brightview associates help deliver peace of mind, safety, security, transportation, daily programs, delicious food, and high-quality care if needed. Discover how our vibrant senior living communities can help you live your best life. Visit brightviewseniorliving.com to learn more. Equal housing opportunity.
Let's clear out winter and clean up the lawn with Spring Black Friday savings at the Home Depot. Right now, get the Ryobi One Plus leaf blower for just $89 and make your lawn work easier with a powerful 90 miles an hour of clearing power. And with convenient online shopping, you can order on the app, pick up in store, and get outside sooner. Get your yard spring ready with the Ryobi One Plus leaf blower, now just $89 during Spring Black Friday at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
What's up, fam? On April 27th, the 2024 Black Effect Podcast Festival is taking place at the Pullman Yards in Atlanta. It's going to be a legendary event, so get your tickets now. Our festival partner, Nissan, is back with its Pitch Your Podcast Lounge. Nissan is offering you the opportunity to pitch your dream podcast and share it with its Black Effect Podcast team. So get those podcast ideas ready, because no matter where life takes you, remember that you count on Nissan to dial up the thrill in your adventures.
Hey everyone, I'm Brian Austin Green.
I'm Sharna Burgess.
And I'm Randy Spelling.
And you are listening to Oldish, an iHeartRadio podcast. Hello, everybody. Hello?
Hi.
Hello, are you there? Anyone? Is anybody here?
Hi, everyone. This is Brian. I'm here with Sharna and Randy, and this is another episode of Oldish. And we're super excited about this one. We have an amazing guest on the episode, and we can't wait to get in and talk with her. But I think before we do that, how was everybody's week? It's prepping for Christmas, right?
Yeah, it's prepping for Christmas. We have we talked about our digital detox that we did, that we've been doing. We talked about that last episode. And so we just now have started to reintroduce screens. By the way, this has come up with the kids. And last night we made the plan together, and they have 4 days a week where they can have 1 hour. That's Tuesdays, Thursdays, and then Saturday, Sunday, they get 1 hour of their device. And then it's a week on, week off. So for a week they get that, then it's a week off, week on, week off. And how excited they were to just have their screens back, and so grateful for any amount of time instead of complaints about like, oh, that's not enough. It was so refreshing and wonderful.
What was amazing too was hearing from them their excitement of like, hey, this is really cool. Like to look forward to having these little bits of game time that we have instead of playing on them all the time. It makes it more of an event and a little more fun for them instead of just they're on playing or they're watching TV all the time.
Yeah. So very, very successful digital detox as a family. And I just wanted to follow up with that in case anyone's considering doing it. It was an amazing move for us.
It sounds like it was excellent for the kids. And what about for you two? Did you two get a chance to detox a little bit as well?
It's been harder because of so much work on my phone. But what I did do is curate my Instagram dramatically. Like I
saw that. I saw you wrote that.
Yeah. I follow like 700 and something accounts, and sometimes they serve me well and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're funny, sometimes they're informative, whatever. But I went through and I cleaned out about 50 to 70 accounts that I no longer really interacted with. And then
is that why you don't follow me anymore?
I do follow you, Randy. You stop that right now. I see you all over my feed. But I curated. So what I did was I muted like probably nearly 80% of the accounts that I follow, because I wanted a very specific feel and direction for me right now and where I'm headed. And Instagram can be distracting. So for me, that's how I've tried to detox and help myself in as far as my devices go. And so far that has been really helpful for me too.
Yeah, it's been great. Detoxing it's been amazing for the family. We've been doing a lot more things together.
Yeah, it has. Randy, how was your week?
My week was really good. Yeah, it feels all things holiday. A lot of my clients have brought in, whether it's gearing up for the holidays, looking at 2024 and laying out plans and strategies, not so much resolutions, but a real way of looking at intentionality, what they want out of the year. So I've been deep in that with people for the last week, and it's been fun. It's sort of, we talked about last episode, the whole lotus and the death and the rebirth, and every year is sort of a beautiful closing to open. And I think it's important to intentionally close out the year. I do this every year personally. I do this with my family and my daughters. We all write something on a piece of paper, is what we're letting go of this year, what we were thankful for, what was hard and challenging. And then we put that in the fire and let it burn.
I love that.
What we're bringing in and what we want, so
that's
that
really cool.
can exist.
So
that's
you're putting
a beautiful
the intention
ritual.
out there. Yeah, that's a really cool thing to do. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I support that. We might just borrow that a little bit over here at the greenhouse.
Please do. Yeah,
that's pretty special.
So let's jump into the episode a little bit. Christmas, obviously, we've all been Christmas shopping. I'm assuming stressful. Wrapping presents.
Black Friday, is it still going?
I don't know. Can it please? Because I wasn't as prepared as I needed to be for all those sales, and I missed out on so much stuff. I could have saved so much money.
Christmas is stressful though. This is kind of a stressful, like, it's exciting and it's fun, and you've got the energy of Christmas and all of that, and the Christmas music and the tree, and you're decorating and you're doing all of that, and it's tons of fun. But it is incredibly stressful also, just financially. I think I know for myself, I'm constantly looking at purchases, and I'm checking the credit card statements, and I'm always looking to see sort of where my limit is and where I am within that. And it's a lot.
Do you do that too?
I do. I've been doing that, especially over the past couple days. I've been kind of going through and seeing how much I've got on the card, how much I've got left. Like what, I've been trying to sort of pace myself that way. But it's tough because there are certain things that you get into, and it's like, there are certain presents that you really get excited about getting for someone. And then you start thinking of the cost of them, and it's like, oh man, the cost I've got to figure out how to work this, like what I'm going to have to cut back on in my own life to make this happen, because I really want this to happen. So,
do you ever notice your heart rate as you're looking at those statements as it's opening, and you're like, okay, is it good?
Absolutely.
Is it bad? And you're holding your breath, waiting to see.
Absolutely. It's there's sometimes where I'm laying in bed kind of at night before I fall asleep, and I'm thinking about those things and the numbers that I've seen, and I'm kind of trying to crunch all of that in my head and do a little math, which math wasn't a strong subject for me anyway, let alone doing math at 10:30 at night, when
the worst time to do
when
this,
I'm stressed.
Right?
Oh, forget it.
This is why I'm so excited to have our guest on today.
Right.
We could talk to her all about this. I'm sure she is going to hopefully solve all of our problems. I just want to say though, before jumping in and inviting her on, this is one of the hardest subjects to talk about. So this could be triggering for people. This could be something that is kind of hard. It's like sex and money are the two things that are so hard to talk about. So take a deep breath, settle in, grab a cup of tea if you can, because we're going to do this from a heart-centered place, and we're discussing this to help all of us to feel better about the conversation of money.
Absolutely.
Y'all want coffee?
Yeah, an extra hot almond milk mocha latte chino?
We got it black or with milk and sugar.
Oh.
If only everything was as customizable as the TD Cash credit card. It lets you choose how you earn points to help you earn more cashback rewards. It's the mocha latte chino of credit cards. Learn more at td.com/cashcard. TD Bank, unexpectedly human. Restrictions apply. See terms and conditions on tdbank.com or visit a TD Bank store for details regarding the rewards program, rates, fees, and other important information. Credit approval required. Offered by TD Bank N.A.
This April, the 2024 Black Effect Podcast Festival is heading back to Atlanta. If you missed last year, you're going to want to grab your tickets now, because we have our partner Nissan breaking out all the stops to make this year even more incredible. Nissan and the Black Effect are giving back They're helping to empower HBCU scholars with their Thrill of Possibility Summit, an action-packed weekend of community building, mentorship, and professional development dedicated to HBCU scholars pursuing professions in STEAM. But don't just take my word for it. Hear from the students themselves.
That was an amazing experience. I'm getting a lot of exposure and networking opportunities, so I'm really just grateful to be here.
Well, I was just honored to be there, to be honest, and I was just very inspired, and I'm just glad that they were able to make that impact and sow that seed into our lives.
But wait, there's more. On top of supporting the next generation, Nissan is bringing back the Pitch Your Podcast Lounge. That's right. If you have a podcast idea, you'll have a chance to record a pitch that will be shared with the Black Effect Podcast Network team. You can count on Nissan to dial up the thrill in your adventures, no matter where life takes you.
Tired of endless diets and weight loss struggles? It's time to say goodbye to frustration and hello to results. Introducing Smart Metabolic Burn from Brain MD, your breakthrough solution to fight stubborn body fat. Imagine burning fat, balancing glucose levels, and regulating metabolism in just 12 weeks. This unique 2-in-1 product combines the power of 2 clinically studied ingredients in one revolutionary formula. Berberine, which targets abdominal fat, and OEA, which curbs your appetite. With just 2 capsules a day, Smart Metabolic Burn by Brain MD can kickstart your metabolism, fight stubborn body fat, especially that pesky abdominal fat, and support your weight management journey. Right now, save over 30% on Smart Metabolic Burn at GetSmartBurn.com. The lowest price anywhere. That's GetSmartBurn.com. Don't delay. Transform your life with Smart Metabolic Burn from Brain MD. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. Our products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Our guest today is an incredible woman. She's known for being an American news anchor on CNBC, CNN, other shows as well. She is also a New York Times best-selling author of Rich Bitch and Boss Bitch. She is an incredible woman that also has her own money rehab podcast with just bite-sized bits of information to help you through. It is an honor to have her with us today, Miss Nicole Lapin.
Hey.
Hey, Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
Hi.
Our dogs are saying hi as well.
We have little dogs that literally bark every time we say hello because they think somebody has shown up at our house.
At the door.
So,
yes, it is a fact. It's really.
So if you hear dogs barking,
so Penny's
know.
in good company.
Yes,
that's my little pup that does the
same thing.
Cool.
I love
same
that.
exact thing, huh?
And her name is very on brand.
Penny, it is. I was about to
Like,
say, look at that.
Get to work, bitch. Like, you get free rent. Like, they need to start doing something.
Right. Come on now. This barking is accomplishing nothing.
You got a good life.
So, Nicole, we are so excited to have you on.
Thank you.
We have a lot of questions for you. I mean, where do we start here?
Nicole. This time of year, this holiday, it's unbelievable the levels of stress that can come from the spending that we have to do for presents and for the kids. I mean, we have 4 young kids here at the house. And so this holiday is, I was just saying, as beautiful as it is, having a tree and the Christmas music and all the stuff playing, and you walk into a store and it's all the lights and all the things. Oh my God, I get so stressed out.
All the lights and all the things are pricey, Brian.
Oh, are they ever? So I don't have a typical job in the sense of I have like a 9-to-5 weekly income that I can count on. I work, I make a good chunk of money, I put it in my accounts, and then I'm spending it until I work on the next thing that I'm working on. So it's sort of, I get a feeling of almost working, living paycheck to paycheck, which is a nightmare to deal with. And especially during holidays like this, when work is slow, when people are at home and you're around your kids and your family and you're supposed to be doing those things for fun. I have historically been terrible with money. I just have a terrible relationship with it. I don't really respect it the way that I should. I don't think. I tend to overspend. I tend to enjoy things a little too much. And then the end of the month is coming and credit card bills are coming in and I pay the price for it.
I'm sure no one
I hope
relates
you
to
pay.
that.
Well, listen, The first step to any recovery is admitting you have a problem. So there you go. We all have issues and traumas when it comes to money. And the only money problem you can't fix is the one you don't admit you have. So there you go. Mazel tov.
Okay. Thank you.
Say, my name is Brian and I have a problem.
Yes. Okay. My name is Brian and I have a problem with spending money.
So what's step 2?
Step 2 is addressing the problem. And we all have different problems, right? And understanding where that comes from. So like we can double click on that if you want. Where does that stem? Does it come from watching your parents spend a bunch of money or get into debt? Does it come from, you know, other traumas, macroeconomic traumas that, you know, I remember growing up. I'm also old-ish during the dot-com bubble and the housing crisis. And I saw my family's house get foreclosed on. And so that like impacts how I deal with money or what I think about buying a house. Right. And so I think identifying what that is, or your friend group too, if you watched your friends hide things from their spouses or get into debt or take a lot of vacations or, you know, save too much. Both ends of the spectrum are not great. So the sweet spot is between thinking you're going to live forever and thinking you're going to die tomorrow. And oftentimes we hang out on one of those. It's a pretty broad area, Nicole. Right?
Like, there's a lot of room for mistake within that. I'm going to die tomorrow. I'm going to live forever.
How does a person that's like Bri, so I think this is a really relatable thing, right? Someone that just kind of spends maybe outside of their means, or they, you know, are that paycheck to paycheck because things are tough, or whatever their relationship is with that. How does someone take their first steps towards budgeting if it's never been a skill that they've had? How do you approach that?
I never had this skill either. So I grew up in an immigrant family. One of my first memories of money is like bailing my mother out of jail with cash underneath the sink behind the maxi pads. Like, so that shit is heavy and real. And like that impacts the scarcity mindset and thinking no matter what's in my bank account, that I'm going to end up dying broke, alone, and homeless in the gutter. Right. But none of us learn this stuff in school, which is completely bananas to me. Brian, you said you have 4 kids, right? So it's incumbent on parents to teach their kids, but truly, like, we don't learn it in school. We often don't learn it in home if you're like my family. And so,
I sure didn't. No.
Yeah. And there's a lot of shame around that, right? Like I figured out harder things in life. And so when I got into debt myself, I figured out how to get out of it the hard way. And what I did was to break it down into baby steps. And so anything overwhelming is better broken down into steps and then littler steps from there. All of my books are 12-step plans because the first step is admitting you have a problem. And also because all of those.
So I really have achieved something today.
You did.
Okay. All right. Fantastic.
Step
Good.
1 down.
1 check. Yeah. See, I grew up in a household where we were very middle class. I mean, my parents were really good at saving. My dad was very frugal, but I wasn't ever taught any of the steps of how to do it. It was just sort of done for me. My mother was my business manager. My father was my manager for the younger part of my career. So as I was making money and it was going into accounts, I had no idea what was happening where. And then at the point when I got old enough and I was like, I really want to find a business manager and a manager that are outside of family, that, you know, I need someone to take the next step. I had no idea what I was doing. And I saw the money that I had in accounts from working for so long. And I was like, oh man, I can get all sorts of stuff. and so I did. And then you watch this, you know, these accounts that you've built slowly start to dwindle away. And now it's like chasing. I'm constantly trying to fill them back up, you know, and then they dwindle away. And then I hopefully fill them back up before it all goes away. So I'm constantly fighting that. And it's a nightmare. It's unbelievable.
It sucks how that happens.
Unbelievable. Unbelievably stressful.
Well, I think it's coming up with a plan that takes some of that stress away. And I think that there's a balance between forgiving your former self for what he or she didn't know, and then giving your future self a little tough love and saying, like, that's not okay moving forward. I learned this in dialectical behavioral therapy, which has nothing to do with money, but like DBT has helped me in lots of mental health ways. But it's that idea of both things can be true at the same time. Like your former self could have been, you know, clueless or made all of these mistakes, and that's fine. And that's okay. Let's forgive younger Brian.
Okay.
Shall we? Yeah, let's
you.
forgive him. And
Okay.
like then older Brian, it's not okay because now you have the tools, right? And now you have a family. And so now it's like just because it was done a certain way doesn't mean that's the way it needs to be done. And you're in charge now. So let's put our big girl and boy pants on and say like, yeah, and you have kids. And you know, the best way to teach your kids about money is not like sitting down with them with a book, although that's a great way too, but they're watching everything you're doing. Like they're watching what your behaviors are. And so the best way to influence your kids to become financially literate, and I get this question all the time, it's like, well, look in the mirror. Are you financially literate?
Are you leading by example?
Right,
or
exactly.
are you right? Now, I've seen this argument before as far as like when you have kids, some people are big on, oh, you get them a debit card, like you start that way. And then some people are completely against that concept. They're like, oh, don't do a debit card. If you were in my shoes with 4 young kids, what would be a good starting tool for you with kids, with finance and with money?
How old are they?
11, 9, 7, and 18 months. So the 18-month-old, he's okay. But the 11, 9, and 7-year-old, they are at a point now where they're trying to save money and they're trying to save up for things. And we'll do little things like Visa gift cards for things. And so they kind of save that way. But I know some people are really against debit and would much rather do credit or much rather set up bank accounts I know there are a bunch of different thoughts that way. What are yours?
Yeah, I think it's never too early to start helping your kids get credit or even starting retirement accounts really early. Like a lot of these investments, think about this beauty of compound interest. We've often seen it used against us in the financial system when it comes to credit card debt, but that same force of compound interest can be used in our favor to help grow our money literally while we're sleeping if it's set up in the right way. And you can do the very same thing for your kids. Do they get an allowance or do the older ones get one?
They do. So they don't necessarily get an allowance. They work on more of a chore system. They earn money by doing chores around the house. So we're trying to teach them you work and then you get paid for it, kind of that way instead of just handing them money.
So the jury's out on that one because there is this school of thought that doing chores is just part of living in a household and everybody contributes. And so maybe think about like a sliding scale idea where depending on what they do or how they negotiate, this is how to start raising young entrepreneurs, even have them negotiate their allowance.
Interesting.
Like say, hey,
that's an interesting thought.
What do you
I've never
mean?
thought about that. Yeah.
Wait, elaborate on that.
Well, we can role play if you want, but it's like, okay, Dad, but you saw me, like I got an A on this paper, instead of $5, like I think I deserve $7 or I think I deserve 10 and like have it as an active negotiation. So you're teaching your kids some of these skills really early on.
Oh, interesting.
Good for them.
I would never have
us.
thought that. I'd be like, what do you mean you'll get 5? Thank you so much.
Right. Yeah.
You want to get paid for that? What are you
totally
talking about? That's just what you do.
My child will be rich. I'll be completely broke.
Yeah, they're really good at getting what they want from us. So we may end up broke.
Well, I don't know if this is right or not, but something that we've done for a few years now is we went old school and tactile. So I got a sheet and I drew lines with a ruler on it. And we put different, sort of like an Excel spreadsheet, but handwritten. And it was $5 a week. And one automatically goes into giving. So they would have to sit and write out, $1. I'm left with $4. I sweeten the deal by giving them 14% interest if they put it in savings.
Damn, can I invest in bank?
I know.
Randy?
I know. Now it's getting to the point because a few weeks ago, so they could put it into invest. And I really wanted to show them, hey, this is worth it. And then put it into save. If they take out of invest, they have to pay a hefty fee. I'm trying to teach them about this, but my youngest the other day really wanted to get a certain something and she's been saving up a lot of money. And she said, okay, so let's do the math. So I started doing the compounding interest. And I'm kicking myself. I'm thinking, I can't afford to keep this up after years. Right. And then she asked me, she said, can I put it all in invest and just keep going?
My girl.
Right.
Love that.
Wow,
Talk
really?
about
That's very impressive.
starting them young. It's really impressive, and it's helpful to introduce those concepts young. I like breaking it down into save, spend, share. Like if you think of, that charitable component too. And if they want to buy something extravagant, like it sounds like, whatever extra she wanted to get, charging interest is a cool example to also show how that works, like in the real world. And it's not just free money. Obviously, you're not going to take the money that she gives you in interest and then maybe like take her out, get ice cream or something and like talk about it. But it's always really important to instill those concepts early, just in like these types of little ways, Randy. I think that's awesome. It's also really cool to ask kids like how much stuff costs. This is a fascinating discussion. Like ask them how much a car costs. It's so interesting. Or like how much a house costs, right? And so just even giving a ballpark, because they have no idea. And so, you're able to help them right out of the gate with stuff like that. That's typically taboo.
I just had this conversation with my 9-year-old the other day because he was like, I want to buy the house right next door to my friends. I was like, okay, how, with what money, how much do you think homes cost? We had a whole conversation about it. Yeah.
How much did he think they cost?
I don't think he did. He seemed very like, it's just what you just say that you're going to buy a house and then it's just magically your house. I don't think he had a real concept of like, oh, you've got to have money in the bank and you have to get a loan for it. He's 9. Although he should see, what you're saying though, is that at 9, he should be learning about these things.
I mean, in little ways, right? Like, it doesn't have to be like sit down and gather around like the chalkboard, right. Children. Although I do love like an OG spreadsheet, not spreadsheet, Randy. I think that's like that's a cool way to go. But yeah, I think like some of these little things can totally be implemented as you go, like whether they touch money through allowance or as you're buying stuff, like explaining, here's how much stuff costs. Like, imagine if you're seeing a credit card for the first time, right? Like you think it's magical. Like you just swipe this thing and it's like, cool, right. We get stuff.
It just gives you money.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. The kids have no concept of like, oh no, this is my money. I have to pay. They think you just get a card and it's just got like endless money on it and you just buy whatever you want.
But honestly, like they're 10 now, but don't you remember during college times, they had kiosks and like they give out, crazy APR credit cards to college students. And you kind of felt the same thing then, even though, you were a decade older.
I honestly think I felt that way about money into my 20s. I came here, I started earning TV money. And for the first few years, I think I pretty much spent every dollar that I made because I just had no concept of it, no accountability. And it wasn't until I had a business manager come on my team and she was like, no, you're going to learn along with me as we do this because I cannot do this just for you. And it was the greatest thing that happened to me because I had no idea. And I had my own experience as a kid with money. My dad definitely lived outside of his means and he liked to, I think, pretend that he had more than he did. So it was always renting the big houses and doing the big things, but truly there was struggle behind all of that. And so I have an interesting relationship with money anyway.
What is it, Sharna?
That I love to spend it, but then I also get terrified of it not being there. But do you know what I mean? It's like I bounce between these two personalities of my mom and my dad. My mom, who is the flip side, who studied like accounting, and then my dad, who just burned hole in his pockets. And I absolutely have both of those traits in me. So I get into like when I'm feeling in moments of abundance, I'll like spend all the things and forget all the good work I'm doing and all the saving. And then suddenly I see it start to go down. And then I go into scarcity mode of like, oh my God, I can spend no more money than, X amount of time. And
so Nicole, I'm the worst that way. Like I'll get very serious for about a month and a half, 2 months of like, okay, I'm going to buckle down. I'm like really going to watch what I spend. And I'm really going to, be aware of what's going out. And then I forget. And then I kind of go back to, I slide back into kind of the spending habits of just not really being conscious or aware of what it is that I'm doing.
It totally makes sense. I mean, think about all the vitamins you have. Like, you think you're going to eat that turmeric every day because you're just like, I'm on a kick. I'm on a health kick. And then I don't even know how many bottles of vitamins I have right now that are like, just a little bit done from my 3 weeks of like being really gung-ho about it. I think the same thing comes with money, right? And if you look at it like a sustainable eating plan, that's why I think of a spending plan instead of a budget. It's the same thing, but you're using the words that feel sustainable instead of a crash diet.
It's almost like reverse psychology.
It's exactly right, because you're allowing yourself small indulgences so you don't end up binging later on. So a lot of people do what you do, Brian, like especially in the beginning of the year, they'll say, hey, Nicole, I'll be right on track because I cut out the morning latte. I cut everything out. I'm clipping coupons. I'm digging in the couch for coins or whatever. Like, I've totally gone cold turkey. I'm really going to buckle down. And like, come, April or May, like, you'll be so proud of me. I, did so well. I didn't buy a latte, but I got a Gucci purse because like I was doing so great. I'm like, you could have got the latte every single day, allowed yourself whatever that small indulgence is. So in the same way as like an eating plan, right? You allow yourself a Hershey's Kiss so you don't end up noshing on a big old hunk of chocolate cake in the middle of the night because you're so hungry and so deprived. Like, those crash diets never work because you're starving, right? Yeah. That's what happened to you, Brian. Like, you were starving and so you binge, I'm sure.
I went through a stage where I was like, I'm just going to I'm really going to focus on just using cash. So I'm not paying an interest rate on the credit card. And I'm like, I was really into it, and then forget it.
then just less
then
into
the cash
it.
went away, and I was like, I'm not going to bother going and getting more cash. I'm just going to use this card.
How about this? Because since it's Brian and I, and we're obviously, together and in a relationship, and we're pretty open with each other and transparent about all the things. But money, I think, can be the number one stressor in relationships across the board for everybody. How to have those uncomfortable conversations with your loved one about maybe your circumstances or what you're witnessing with their circumstances. What would you say is a healthy relationship with money within your relationship? Like, how much are you supposed to know about each other? Like what's the boundaries there?
Should we find out?
Yes, ask him some questions.
Wait,
Nicole.
you're gonna ask?
Let's get into it.
Sure.
Oh boy.
Y'all want coffee?
Yeah, an extra hot almond milk mocha lattechino.
We got it black or with milk and sugar.
Oh.
If only everything was as customizable as the TD Cash credit card. It lets you choose how you earn points to help you earn more cashback rewards. It's the Mocha Lattechino of credit cards. Learn more at td.com/cashcard. TD Bank, unexpectedly human. Restrictions apply. See terms and conditions on tdbank.com or visit a TD Bank store for details regarding the rewards program, rates, fees, and other important information. Credit approval required. Offered by TD Bank N.A.
This April, the 2024 Black Effect Podcast Festival is heading back to Atlanta. If you missed last year, you're going to want to grab your tickets now, because we have our partner Nissan breaking out all the stops to make this year even more incredible. Nissan and the Black Effect are giving back. They're helping to empower HBCU scholars with their Thrill of Possibility Summit, an action-packed weekend of community building, mentorship, and professional development dedicated to HBCU scholars pursuing professions in STEAM. But don't just take my word for it. Hear from the students themselves.
That was an amazing experience. I'm getting a lot of exposure and networking opportunities, so I'm really just grateful to be here.
Well, I was just honored to be there, to be honest, and I was just very inspired, and I'm just glad that they were able to make that impact and sow that seed into our lives.
But wait, there's more. On top of supporting the next generation, Nissan is bringing back the Pitch Your Podcast Lounge. That's right. If you have a podcast idea, you'll have a chance to record a pitch that will be shared with the Black Effect Podcast Network team. You can count on Nissan to dial up the thrill in your adventures, no matter where life takes you.
Problems with stress and low libido? Did you know that saffron has been used for over 3,000 years as a natural aphrodisiac booster? Happy Saffron Plus contains the most potent saffron in the market, plus curcumin and zinc, to enhance mood and improve memory in a 3-in-1 single product that is vegan, sugar-free, and gluten-free. Developed by a world-renowned leader in brain and mental health, Happy Saffron Plus increases happiness and mood reduces stress, and helps improve sexual function and libido. Happy Saffron Plus delivers hard-hitting brain and body benefits, so you'll find yourself experiencing better memory, mood, and libido. Join the thousands of people who are living better lives thanks to Happy Saffron Plus. Get your Happy Saffron Plus with a special offer at gethappytoday.com. The lowest price is only available at gethappytoday.com. Enhance your quality of life, mood, memory, and stress levels with Happy Saffron Plus. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. Our products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Yeah,
Here we
how
go.
much do you guys know? Well, it changes as you progress in your relationship, right? So like having the talk is a different talk when you're first moving in together, because you want to know whose name the bills are going to be under, right? Because the person whose name the bills aren't in is not accumulating credit, for instance. Not fun, sexy conversations, but important adult oldish conversations nonetheless. Then when you have kids, you know, you have to talk about a will. Do you guys have a will? An advance directive? These are, again, like not super fun, sexy conversations, but important nonetheless. So like as your relationship progresses and, you know, as you get married, you get a prenup. If you're married and you're having issues, you get a postnup. How much of that
I didn't even hear about a postnup. We actually have never talked about a prenup.
No.
So the way that we met is because we have the same business manager. So that ended up working out really well for us because she handles, well, all of our stuff. But I know how do I say this? What I know about Bri is what we share together. So we have our shared account and our shared funds, and all of that goes to Life Kids House. And then Bri has his life and stuff and money. And I don't try and peek in or know anything about that because that's his to spend and own and have. I think that's part of his individuality, his independence, you know, him. And I have mine. And we only really talk about what we have and what we need for what we contribute together. That's kind of right, baby?
I think the reality is though, like the limits in knowing will grow and change the longer we're together and the more things are coming. I mean, we just recently bought a house together. So we decided that we're going to have an account, like a fund together. So when there are any things that we want to do within the house, any things in regards to that, we both discuss those things and it all comes out of the shared account that way. But I mean, I have no issue as a relationship progresses, putting more things together. I'm not really like hiding behind any sort of
I don't think either of us
that
are.
way. No.
But what do you think are healthy boundaries? Like, what would you set up with your significant other as far as how you would function with finances?
I mean, financial infidelity is real. So financial infidelity is, you know, hiding stuff, hiding debt, hiding other like financial skeletons. And so that's often a big cause of rifts in relationships and divorces. I would think that a yours, mine, and ours is a good structure to set up, you know, a household if you guys are living together and getting married. The question is like, how do you guys determine what goes in the ours account?
It's a good question.
Up until this point, it's just been like a percentage, I think, of what it is we make that goes into that account.
Yeah.
That's basically good. Because, you know, if one person makes a bunch more, then it's going to feel weighted if somebody makes less, right? So if for easy math, if somebody makes 10 grand a year and somebody makes 100 grand a year, like putting $5,000 in there is going to feel a lot different to both of those people. But if you decide to put like 20% of what you're bringing in, it's probably precarious because it doesn't sound like you guys are making consistent income. So do you determine
industry
over the year?
Yeah. I feel like it's kind of dependent on month to month, like what's coming in. It's just that's the industry that we're in. It's not consistent. Brian said, you know, I wish there was a 9-to-5 version of this industry where you could depend on it, but it isn't. So I feel like it's whatever is coming in, a percentage of that goes into it.
And do you guys do that, or do you have the business manager do that,
or your business manager?
Or do you see it, or do you know what it is that's going in, each of you?
Sometimes. And
I would love to
no.
say all the time,
Sometimes
but no,
things are
like,
just sort of coming in and going out, and we have no idea. I just know I'm going to work and making money.
Okay.
But sometimes it splits up in different ways.
Get after him, Randy.
Because this is something for me. I grew up with a lot of opulence, and my family had a lot of money, but we also didn't talk about it either. It was just something that was there.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a business manager, and I remember when I was 18, it's like everything just switched over, and no longer was there the parents' credit card that I could take for dinners. It was just, okay, this is yours and your responsibility. And I remember once a year I'd have these meetings with the business manager. They would go over it. I wouldn't understand anything, but I'd shake my head and I'd see facts and figures and get some sort of idea. And then when I started really paying attention and doing more things myself, I had to take account. I mean, running my own business, profits and losses, seeing what's going out, seeing what's coming in. And it sucks to look at. There's never a time where I'm like, this is the sexiest, most fun thing. I can't wait to watch what I'm spending. But if you don't know it, it's impossible to talk about, but I feel like it creates all of this angst because it's either there or not there without fully understanding. It's like, it's hard to create a spending plan without knowing. Right.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. Or if God forbid, like something happened, I'm sure they're at a firm or whatever, and somebody else is going to have access, but like, God forbid something happened to that person, and oftentimes like a lot of listeners are not going to have the same business manager. They're going to have one of the significant others dealing with the bills or dealing with the accounts or something like that. And God forbid something happens to that person. Do they know where the keys to the queendom are? Right. Like, do they have a file of like, in case shit goes wrong, here's where everything is, like, here's how you can get into all of the accounts. And so oftentimes women want to get their financial lives together, not proactively. And just like a diagnosis, it's hard to proactively do that, but reactively after they get divorced or after, their husband dies, because they have no other choice. And so that's my big thing, is to try to get in front of that. It's not like if something bad happens, it's when something bad happens, so that you don't get screwed. And to Randy's point, like, just because somebody is handling it doesn't mean like you can put your blinders on and not know where those things are going or what's happening there.
Are you hands-on with all of your finances? I'm assuming that you are.
Me?
Me or Randy? Or
both of you, Nicole and Randy.
I would imagine yes.
Yes.
I mean, enough. Like, I empower a team as well, but if something happened to that team, I would know where things are going. Or like, I set up a system to set it and forget it, where I'm not sitting around like looking at stock charts all day long, but I've come up with the plan of, where things go to investments. I wish I could invest in, the brokerage of Randy, because that return is amazing. But like, when you're investing, there's a thing called dollar cost averaging, which is just fancy Wall Street jargon for like, you put a little bit of money in at certain increments so that you can safeguard from buying, this adage of buy low, sell high, right? Like, you just don't know where the low is and you don't know where the high is. So in order to mitigate that, you buy at certain times, like certain increments. So like over time, you're getting the average of where investments are. And so that's just an example of a plan to like set it and forget it, or putting a percentage into an emergency fund regularly, so you don't see it coming out of your paycheck. If you do have a regular paycheck, to try to set up, 3 to 6 months of savings in the bank. And until that's full, you come up with rules of like where things can go, or you create sub savings accounts. For the holidays, this is a good idea. If you want to create within your banking portal, like holiday savings or holiday spending or whatever. So you're like naming your savings and naming your goals, which sounds a little woo-woo and silly, but a lot of finance is so much of a mind fuck, honestly. Whether you have money, whether you don't have money, it's a mind fuck. And so to get through that, you want to try and safeguard yourself from yourself by setting up these rules in advance, and then also naming it so you know where it's going and you can visualize those goals. So it's not going into like this deep, dark abyss. You have taxes, you have other stuff coming out. And so it's hard to like motivate yourself to get a holiday fund or get, a kid's college fund or anything else. So naming those is something that is quite helpful.
So question for you, if I didn't understand any money talk at all, I mean, one of the things I love about you, Nicole, is I feel like you have the gift to talk to anyone at any level and they can understand it. I also love how much sort of mental health, self-help you bring into money because they are so closely related. So for someone who just heard what you said and it was overwhelming, and they like, do I name something? Could you give one example of what that would actually look like broken down so someone could do that perhaps for a holiday fund or a trip that they really want to take?
Yeah, for sure. And thank you. I think the biggest impediment to getting your financial life together, whether you're single or you're with somebody else, which adds a whole other layer of complexity, is the jargon, right? And so when I first got into anything money related, I thought it was all gibberish. I grew up, like I said, immigrant family, never talked about any money besides using cash. I didn't know what a mortgage was until I went to college. I started on the floor of the Merc in Chicago, which I thought was a mall at the time because I didn't know. Like my boyfriend in high school said he wanted to be a hedge fund manager. I thought he wanted to be in gardening. So like when I tell you that if I could do it, I promise anyone can do it. It is a language just like anything else. And Randy, we don't have a Rosetta Stone for this language growing up. But like if you go to Japan and you don't speak Japanese, you'll be really confused. If you go to Wall Street and you don't speak money, you'll be really confused until you speak the language. And then it becomes way less intimidating. So in the back of all of my books, I rewrite financial dictionaries that you don't need a dictionary to understand. This is why, I'm a stone's throw away from 40 and still single. I don't know, because I rewrite financial dictionaries on my free time. But I think it's important to break that down. And so when you're first getting started looking at that spending plan, I like to break it down into the 3 E's. So essentials, endgame, and extras, where 70% of your overall take-home pay goes to the essentials. So your food, your housing, your transportation, all that stuff. 15% goes to the end game. So future Randy, what do you want to be when you grow up? What are your investments? What are your retirement? What is your trip to Mexico fund? All of that. And then 15% to the extras. So allowing yourself those small indulgences, whether it's a latte or a mani pedi or whatever, like making sure that that's above board and that you're accounting for that so that you don't end up binging later on. So I started actually as a poetry major. So again, I didn't study this stuff in school. Like I use a lot of alliteration because I became a writer, just not the kind that I expected. And it helps me remember it. So like I have the 3 F's, I have the 3 E's, I have like prioritize to pulverize. I don't know. I just looked at this with fresh eyes and, I went to college and never learned a single personal finance class, which is completely bananas to me, that we'll learn like macroeconomic BS and in grade school, like how to dissect a frog. I don't even know if they still do that these days. I think that might be wrong.
I think they do.
Do they?
Anatomy.
I think that's, I think that is like that is a
Biology.
tried and true. That's in to stay. Yeah.
Or like the Pythagorean theorem, all of these things. Who needs to know that? How to do your taxes would have been way more helpful. How to do a business plan or, how to create a budget would have been more helpful. So I would say if you're just starting out, that is a good rubric. That is a good rule of thumb. And ultimately, it's not what you make. And you guys have all made a lot of money. It's what you keep that matters.
I don't want to hear this.
I know.
I seriously, when I hear that, there's such a shit. Like my whole body is like,
right.
Why can't I just want to make more? Because in some ways that seems easier to make more somehow than it is to save more.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, but guess what? You're never as young as you are today. And so as far as I'm concerned, today is as good a day as any to start trying to keep more of that money than you're making. So like you say shit because
Nicole, that was a good fucking quote. We're going to have to use that one.
That's a mic drop, Nicole.
Yeah. You're never young.
You're never as young as you are today.
Yeah.
So might as well start
Jesus.
saving today.
Because you say shit like you're mad at your former self, right? Like you wish you would have started earlier to take advantage of the beautiful, gorgeous, amazing force of compound interest that would have made your money, work for you. Yeah, it sucks. Like I also wish I would have, worked out 5 days a week for, all of
Nicole,
my 20s.
it's really
I also
the fucking stigma that comes with it, though. It's really embarrassing. Like for me at 50 to realize like, God, I have so much to learn seems fucking insane.
There's a lot of shame in it, right?
Yeah,
Do
but what about when you're
people?
60 years old? Is there going to be more shame?
Probably.
Yes.
So today is the day, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone who's listening. Today is the day. We're all in this together. We're all going to start to feel more empowered to take back some control and ownership over our choices, right?
Yeah.
Right. And have you guys talked about a will, a prenup?
Oh, I was going to ask this.
I didn't forget that part.
So I have a will. I mean, I'm constantly having to change it and update it and all of that based on, now we have a new child. And so my ex-wife, her name will come off obviously from some things, but I still need to have things in there for the kids that I have with her. So
Brian, you have a complicated one.
I do.
Just saying.
I have a very complicated will situation, living trust.
Yeah.
There you go. No, we haven't had that conversation actually. We're probably around like 2 years away from the actual wedding, just because we have so much going on and just that feels like more of a right time for us.
How do you feel about prenups, Nicole? I mean, is that?
Oh, I thought you were asking me for a second. I was like,
how do you feel
baby, how do you feel about prenups?
No, I'm out of this conversation. You guys talk about it.
It's very voyeuristic.
How do I? All right. So, I don't know.
I'll tell you if you tell me first.
Okay. I would have no problem signing one or having one or not. Honestly, I always try and be as fair in a situation as possible. So if God forbid anything happened and Sharna and I didn't end up together, we have a child together. So I want her life and his life to be as incredibly comfortable as it can be. So I don't really have any tie-ups or issues with money, but I'm sure a lot of that has to do with the fact that I'm not financially super responsible. So I don't have as much skin in the game. I haven't worked so hard to build something to then see it go if something didn't work. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm a 50-year-old with a bad sense of it, I guess. I don't know.
Stop it. Stop talking about my new friend like that. You're not bad at it. You just were, and now you're going to be better.
I am going to be better.
Yeah.
Yes.
Car is making noises. I should probably take it in.
Ooh, my phone bill is huge this month.
Both girls need braces?
Life is filled with unexpected costs. It's only human to want to keep things simple. Introducing the new TD Clear credit card. With no late fees, no interest, and just a simple monthly fee, it's designed to help you manage your expenses. TD Clear. To learn more about credit costs and terms, call 1-844-TD-CLEAR. TD Bank. Unexpectedly human.
This April, the 2024 Black Effect Podcast Festival is heading back to Atlanta. If you missed last year, you're going to want to grab your tickets now, because we have our partner Nissan breaking out all the stops to make this year even more incredible. Nissan and the Black Effect are giving back. They're helping to empower HBCU scholars with their Thrill of Possibility Summit, an action-packed weekend of community building, mentorship, and professional development dedicated to HBCU scholars pursuing professions in STEAM. But don't just take my word for it. Hear from the students themselves.
That was an amazing experience. I'm getting a lot of exposure and networking opportunities, so I'm really just grateful to be here.
Well, I was just honored to be there, to be honest, and I was just very inspired, and I'm just glad that they were able to make that impact and sow that seed into our lives.
But wait, there's more. On top of supporting the next generation, Nissan is bringing back the Pitch Your Podcast Lounge. That's right. If you have a podcast idea, you'll have a chance to record a pitch that will be shared with the Black Effect Podcast Network team. You can count on Nissan to dial up the thrill in your adventures, no matter where life takes you.
Tired of endless diets and weight loss struggles? It's time to say goodbye to frustration and hello to results. Introducing Smart Metabolic Burn from Brain MD, your breakthrough solution to fight stubborn body fat. Imagine burning fat, balancing glucose levels, and regulating metabolism in just 12 weeks. This unique 2-in-1 product combines the power of 2 clinically studied ingredients in one revolutionary formula. Berberine, which targets abdominal fat, and OEA, which curbs your appetite. With just 2 capsules a day, Smart Metabolic Burn by Brain MD can kickstart your metabolism, fight stubborn body fat, especially that pesky abdominal fat, and support your weight management journey. Right now, save over 30% on Smart Metabolic Burn at GetSmartBurn.com. The lowest price anywhere. That's GetSmartBurn.com. Don't delay. Transform your life with Smart Metabolic Burn from Brain MD. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. Our products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Sharna, how do you feel about prenups?
You know, it's honestly something I've never even thought about. I don't think I have an issue with them. I certainly wouldn't feel offended, right? If Bri came to me as like, hey, I think we should have one, I wouldn't feel like, wait, what do you mean? I would be totally open to it. I don't know what goes in them. I don't know the nuances of them. I don't even really know how they work other than, you know, you set terms for what happens when or if you guys don't make it. So I don't really know how to have an opinion. Or at least I don't know what I would put in one if we were to have one that I'm open to having. Does that make sense?
Well, you could put whatever you want in it. It's your document. It's like an insurance policy, right? Like you don't think you're going to get into a car accident when you get car insurance or any other kind of insurance.
Right.
But like people are marrying later and you have your own assets, Sharna. And this is really interesting because both of you talked about it as if like Brian was going to ask you to do it, but you made your own money, sister.
It's true.
And this is oftentimes what women are like, oh, he's making me sign a prenup. I'm like, no, woman, you have your prenup ready to go because you have assets and you have your own things. And by the way, it protects you against somebody else's debt. It's really helpful when other kids are involved or family money is involved. Basically, you get to decide compared to the state what ends up happening in your personal matters. And I like that.
I didn't think of it that way, that you decide what happens instead of the state deciding, because that feels like something that I would want. I would want for us to decide things as opposed to people that don't know us and know our family or our nuances, you know?
Well, and that's the whole idea too about having a will or living will and trust is that if you don't have one, it either goes to probate, goes through the state or government, then they figure out what to do. And it's a nightmare. I'm so curious, Nicole, if you have, because you seem to take the association from words that people have that are negative and switch the word or change the word into something that feels more doable, more palatable. Prenup, I think, has an awful stigma. We've seen it in media. We've seen it in movies. You hear prenup and automatically it's this, oh, this is against me. It's very one-sided versus no, it's a pre-wedding agreement. So is there another word that we could change this to that would make it more palatable for people?
That's a great question. Let's come up with one together.
Okay.
Crickets. Everyone's like, let's come up with one. No one says anything.
And
no one has words.
Partnership financial agreement.
Sure.
PFAs.
I feel like it has to have some sort of like sexy thing. Sometimes when people ask me about having these discussions, I just say like, get naked. Have a naked financial discussion. It makes it easier.
Does that actually go well?
So I think it's important to take out like this idea that you're in an interrogation or you're in an IRS audit for these types of chats. Because really the core of it is that you're talking about your life together, your hopes and your dreams, how you want to spend money, how you want to live, like how you want to take on the world together. And so reframing that is really, really important. So my homework is to think of a better name for prenup, and it has to have like sort of a double entendre vibe. Okay, I'm gonna marinate on that.
Yeah, but then get back to us because the pressure's on now.
For sure.
We're expecting an answer from you, Nicole, at some point. We'll give you a week. How about that? We give you a week's time to come up with something fantastic that just takes the globe by storm.
I'm on it.
But no pressure. No pressure at all.
I'm on it. And so are you guys going to sign one?
I guess we really need to talk about it.
It sounds like we should.
It sounds like we should, but it does make sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like because like Randy said, it gets this negative tone around it because of just, the way it's been portrayed in media or movies.
Yeah.
There's nothing negative about it.
I always had a thought of like a prenup is like, it's,
I don't trust you.
It's like impending doom. Yeah. It's like, this isn't actually going to last. So for when it doesn't last, let's make sure that I'm safe and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think I came up with something.
All right.
How about like financial foreplay?
Oh,
because it is the
very clever
foreplay.
There's a double on
like that.
Ooh.
All right. It's a working title.
I like it.
Financial foreplay.
I'm going to take that to our business manager and be like, so we're going to do some financial foreplay discussions. Are you in?
We're here for our financial foreplay.
Lori, how are you feeling today?
Lori will be like, wow, when I introduced you guys, this was not what I was expecting.
Oh, that's
but
amazing.
you're having like this discussion about what your assets are, what your liabilities are. And I think all of that stuff is important to stave off issues down the road. The financial infidelity comes from this idea that you don't have the information. And so, whose fault is it if you don't have the information? The person who didn't give the information or the one that didn't ask for the information?
Sure.
I wish that there was some sort of financial foreplay coach or a mediator, because lawyers are terrible at that. It seems very sided. It seems like something that really pits two people against each other, because you are going through all the possibilities of when you're not together. And even entertaining that puts your mind in a place where you're imagining these scenarios. So
Randy,
having
you and your wife have a prenup?
Yes. And we ended up doing something that is just very much like equal thing.
Right.
It was a lot of conjecture and a lot of roundabout to get to something that's like, you know what, let's just land here. But what it did do was it put us front and center with having to answer a lot of questions and get information that we otherwise would never have talked about, never discussed. And there was some tension around it. It was stressful. Same thing with doing a will. Some of the questions that they ask, and what happens if your partner's not here, and then, they get remarried, and then that partner's terrible, and then they take the money and, don't give the kids any. I mean, all these things that you have to entertain that are likelihoods or possibilities. And having to look at that and make decisions is tricky. But if there could be some sort of, I don't know, less tense way to do that, because I've worked with a lot of couples who are either going through a prenup or who never had one and are getting divorced. And you hear this all the time. It becomes so ugly. The lamp that was bought together that no one cared about, then there is war over that lamp because it's a power struggle. And that sucks, especially when there's kids involved.
Right.
For sure. I think that you were really smart to figure this out, even though it's uncomfortable. I mean, it's the same thing as if you're going through a fertility process. You have to answer all these questions of like, what happens if one person dies? Like, then where do the embryos go? And like all of these things are super not fun, exciting conversations, but there's so much guilt and shame and like trauma surrounding money that it's important to have these chats like from the jump, right? Like it's the most intimate conversation you can possibly have. I think about think about just this conversation. Like it's uncomfortable too, right?
Yeah.
Like you go to dinner with your girlfriends, Sharna, and like, we're talking about everything at dinner with our girlfriends, right? Like sexy time, bikini waxes, all the things. Like nothing is held back. But then as soon as I come
much like
up,
the conversations that Randy and I have with each other.
Yes.
That's
absolutely.
a typical Thursday night.
This is what I imagine of you guys.
I'm like, Randy, so let's talk about your bikini wax. Sorry.
Yeah, but you're right. I don't ever talk about finances with my
I'm that
girlfriends.
girl. I'm happy to I'll just invite myself to your guys' next dinner. But
Let's have dinner, Nicole. That's it.
I will. I'll say like, what are you making this year? What's in your bank account? Or what does your like baby daddy make? Or I don't know. Have you guys talked about it? Not because like I'm judging, but because I care. And then it's crickets. It is full on crickets. I'm like, girl, you just told me about your landing strip. And like, this is crickets.
Right.
And it's true. It's the most taboo thing left in society. Like we will talk about everything before we talk about money in relationships, with our friends, at work, everywhere. That's why I have a job.
I love that.
Yes.
Wait, that's so interesting. I wonder why it's like that. Why there's such a stigma. Like, don't ask anyone what they're making, and don't ask, like, even on Dancing with the Stars, for example, no one tells each other. And I wish they did, because we could all band together and everyone could get the maximum amount of money. But there are people that are on a third or a quarter of what some other people are on, right? And that's time spent and whatever. There's a system to it. But no one will talk about how much their paycheck is, because it's just considered like either rude to ask, or bragging if you have more, or embarrassing if you have less. There's so many layers to it. But interestingly enough, if everyone came together and was like, I feel like it should be equal, do you know what I mean? They'd have a real ground to stand on and power behind that. But but the shame or the embarrassment is way more powerful than the desire for more, or the fear. Yeah.
The fear, because if I tell you what I'm getting and it's more or less, then I've started shit and now I could be in trouble.
Yes.
And, am I out of a job? So
it's such an interesting thing. Why don't we talk about money more openly?
Well, I mean, it's the stuff that we layer on top of it, right? Like it's the associations that we have, like with worth, and what does that say about us, or all of these other fears. I think we suffer more in imagination than in reality. That's like another Nicoleism, stoicism philosophy, but especially when it comes to money. And so I say, whenever we're having hard conversations, somebody has to go first. So in my books, I also talk about how much I made, like at different networks I was at, how much I made as an advance for the book, because I was like, if somebody's reading and this bitch is saying, talk about how much you make, and I'm not doing it, then like, who am I? I put my money where my mouth is, literally. And because somebody has to go first with any hard thing. Like I think fertility and mental health might kind of still be taboo in society beyond money. But when somebody opens up about it first, like it kind of gives other people license to do the same thing. So if you want to talk about money, or if you want to talk about your Dancing with the Stars salary, maybe go first.
Oh, I just got anxiety thinking about being the one who goes first. It just like started to rise. Like, no, not me. I didn't make it.
We're all going to get naked. You go first, right?
Everyone get naked.
Right.
Yeah. That's so funny.
This was amazing. Nicole.
Amazing. Nicole.
Thank you so much for being here today. Come back on Thursday, and Nicole is actually going to be answering all of the questions that you all sent in and more.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Yes, you guys are amazing. Make sure you guys go and follow us on Instagram at oldishpod. And you can also go and leave us a message at our own hotline, which is 855-OLDISH-3.
Make sure and write us a review. Leave us 5 stars if you loved it. Leave us 5 stars if you didn't.
We love 5 stars. We love 5 stars.
Yeah. We like 5 stars.
Yeah. See you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See you next week, everyone.
For 25 years, Brightview Senior Living has been dedicated to creating an award-winning company culture, so residents and families receive best-in-class services. Across our 50 communities, Brightview associates help deliver peace of mind, safety, security, transportation, daily programs, delicious food, and high-quality care if needed. Discover how our vibrant senior living communities can help you live your best life. Visit brightviewseniorliving.com to learn more. Equal housing opportunity.
Does money stress you out? Let Facet flip your financial chaos into clarity.
Finding Facet immediately put us at ease.
Facet's innovative approach to financial planning ensures your money works as hard as you do, enabling members to experience the joys of having your finances in order.
And that makes us Facet for life now, I guess.
Visit Facet.com, FACET.com to learn more. This ad is sponsored by Facet. Facet Wealth is an SEC registered investment advisor. This is not an offer to buy or sell securities, nor is it investment, legal, or tax advice. These testimonials are from current Facet members who are not compensated. All opinions are their own and not a guarantee of a similar outcome.
Tired of endless diets and weight loss struggles? It's time to say goodbye to frustration and hello to results. Introducing Smart Metabolic Burn from Brain MD, your breakthrough solution to fight stubborn body fat. Imagine burning fat, balancing glucose levels, and regulating metabolism in just 12 weeks. This unique 2-in-1 product combines the power of 2 clinically studied ingredients in one revolutionary formula: berberine, which targets abdominal fat, and OEA, which curbs your appetite. With just 2 capsules a day, Smart Metabolic Burn by Brain MD can kickstart your metabolism, fight stubborn body fat, especially that pesky abdominal fat, and support your weight management journey. Right now, save over 30% on Smart Metabolic Burn at GetSmartBurn.com. The lowest price anywhere. That's GetSmartBurn.com. Don't delay. Transform your life with Smart Metabolic Burn from Brain MD. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. Our products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.